All right. Hello, everyone. Yesterday, the good news is, I really, knuckled down, and yesterday I started and finished an entire page. I got all the way to the end. I haven't posted this on Instagram yet. But I'm quite happy about it. I made one last-minute change, and that change was I have it leaving the planet, the escape pod. But in the original version, it's just leaving the city. And there was going to be and then you have to go, the chase is in atmospheric space, and I have to explain the difference between atmospheric space um, and, deep space, I guess. It's not deep space even. Just space. So what happens then? Well, if you finished a page, you got to draw a new page on the next day. You got to draw a whole new page. Or partial page. I've only got the most basic of outlines. I am the kind of artist who likes to go from simple and then kind of focus in rather than just meticulously do every detail. And and it might even be that I'm just not good enough to do every detail, but it is what it is. But here's the let me walk you through the script that I have and talk about what's happening. I've got to make sure the face is matched too, so I'm gonna have to go back and do some redrawing. Now the idea here is that well, let me get back to this layer. Illuminara has successfully been pushed into the escape pod, and she is left. She's escaped. But what happens to Iero? Well, he turns around, and behind him is the sister, along with a couple of her soldier guards. And I mean, these guys are like the soldier guards. They're not non-sentient. That's not, but they're like the battle droids or something instead of wars. They're if one gets killed, we shouldn't feel too bad about them, but because they're sort of they're bugs. He turns around and he's cast in shadow. I went around and looked and did not find a good reference for, maybe something where, I had two ways of envisioning it. I could put the character in the foreground and have the silhouettes of the three behind him, and then have him kind of looking up, knowing that he's that they're right behind him. That would be a good visual, actually. But instead, I had the shadow falling over him. I'm going to somehow do the shadow over him. And he turns around and he faces them in an upshot. And you see these two triangles here on the sides. I want to do something with some lighting. Maybe just black it out even. And then we have what would be a Wally-Wood eye level diagram, although it's not exactly eye level, because we're going to see that she is bigger. Like the female members of the Myrdramites, and there's only one every 100 years or so, and there's actually 12 sisters, Illuminara being the youngest. This is the actually there's 9, because she's the oldest sister, and we don't know what happened to the 2 older ones or 3 older ones. She's the oldest living sister. Maybe she's already killed off the other ones, but she's totally ruthless, and she's already 800 years old. Because female Myrdramites live to 1,000 years or longer, and the current Queen Matriarch is over 1,200. And that's why everyone knows she's about to die. She's going to just die of old age. She has this sort of beetle-like a stag beetle even, protrusion, this hardened shell-like thing on her head. But I think I got it wrong. This is incorrect. It's too big here. You can see that she's threatening him. That's about right. That's a little bit more right anyways. And then she also has wings. The insect-like abdomen. Iero tries to stall and says, as a matter of fact, I did see her earlier, but she seemed to be on her way somewhere in a bit of a hurry. He's going to try and stall for time. And then one of the guards notices, this terminal indicates a jump pod departed under emergency protocol only moments ago. And then we see that she's angry. Don't make Ravos angry. She's our villainess. So I've got the general sizes and configurations, but I do think I need to do more drawing before I get to the point where I can start inking, because I'm not there yet. I know I'm not there yet. And I am very messy. Today is Sunday, and I got a chance to go to the movies, and I got a couple of comics that I'll be looking at. I got Eclipso. I got this Eclipso because it's Keith Giffen and hang on. I better be able to open it. What is this CGC shit? All right, hold on. But it's the same exact team. Whoops. It's the same team that did Ambush Bug. So you can see it's Keith Giffen and then Robert Loren Fleming, and he's the guy who wrote Ambush Bug. And right on the front page, starring one of my top favorite characters, which is the Creeper. Absolutely one of my favorites. And also, another one of my favorites is Eclipso. So it's kind of the perfect comic for me. And I don't know, I'm pretty happy about it. And this is when they started to be kind of influenced by the Image style. So if you take a look at the hatching style here. Now, Keith Giffen can draw any number of different ways. He didn't always draw in this Image style. He has a number of different styles. And in fact, when he actually did his own comic for Image, it was Trencher, right? And Trencher has its own style. I don't have any Trencher. I might have one issue of Trencher. But it's a very unique style that I don't think I've ever seen anybody else do. This is Grimjack, and I think this Grimjack is drawn by my former teacher. I am wrong. This is a Timothy Truman. Okay, this is one of the good ones. I have to say, not that the Tom Mandrake ones are not good ones. This is the one of the ones that everybody wants, this Grimjack. After Timothy Truman gave up on this, Tom Mandrake took over. And I love Tom Mandrake too. He's mostly known for Swamp Thing. And this has got On My Vibe all over it. The cowboy stuff, the western stuff. Timothy Truman drew a lot of stuff for D&D. If you go and you look at your Isle of Dread module from the old school, and you open up that module and you look at the art, you can see Timothy Truman's signature right in there. Great D&D artist as well. And then finally, I couldn't resist another issue of the Micronauts. This is issue 49. Whenever I see issues of the Micronauts, I try and rescue them, especially if they're ones I don't have already. And I believe this one is Butch Geiss. Yeah. I love the Micronauts. I'm very influenced by the Micronauts and Ambush Bug, and I'll take you. Let me show you a picture of Bug from the Micronauts, and you can see what I mean. Well, this is Biotron, by the way, and that's Arcturus Ran, Commander Ran. I like Biotron. This is Time Traveler. Okay, there's Bug. You can just barely see him. So you can see the Bug character was an early influence on me. And these antennas are like I'm doing them now. Like they've made their way into my design. I was so influenced um, by these designs when I was a kid, and that's Marionette or Mary. I love her. The year on this comic was 1983, so this was 40 years old. Wow, I can't believe it. 1983. Okay, well, anyways, so let's go on and try and do this. I know that my proportions are wrong. I also went to the movies. I went to see Asteroid City, and I loved it. I loved Asteroid City. What was going on in that movie? I don't know. Um, I really enjoyed it. It was full of symbolism, and it was full of these strangely meaningful moments. And yet, I still I didn't understand it at the end. They were all singing this song, and it was "You can't wake up if you don't go to sleep." You can't wake up if you don't go to sleep. But I loved it. I want to know. I want to analyze it. Like I just saw it in the theater, and I just there were parts that I was like, rewind that back. I want to see that again. What just happened there? Um, it's got. You can tell Wes Anderson has gotten to the point where, like, I love all his movies. I love the Royal Tenenbaums. I love the Monte Carlo Hotel. I love all of his movies, starting with Bottle Rockets. They're funny, and they were just you know skating on the idea of being kind of ironic and so on for a long time. There's just something kind of Gen X cynical ironic about Royal Tenenbaums that could become a problem. But then he's also got he started doing these animated movies like Dog Island and the Fantastic Mr. Fox. Well, he incorporates that into Asteroid City, and also it's clearly influenced by. There's a George Pal influence here. I don't know if you know who George Pal is. George Pal directed my very favorite movie of all time, which is The Seven Faces of Dr. Lao. It's based on the book The Circus of Dr. Lao. Um, this is a silhouette, so I think I'll have to do this in dark, like this part right here. And then those parts are going to be in dark. If you've never seen The Circus of Dr. Lao, um, definitely check that movie out. It's Tony Randall, and it's got an animated part to it, and it's animated in the exact same way that Asteroid City was animated. Oh, it's got Jeff Goldblum as the alien. Tom Hanks is the father-in-law. Jason Schwartzman, of course, is in it. Tilda Swinton, Margot Robbie. I mean, all-star cast. William Dafoe. And yet um, very mysterious. This is not an art movie just for the sake of making art movies. I'm convinced that there's something really interesting going on with it, but I can't tell you what it was. It's one of those. It's a movie within a play or a play within a movie, where it's a documentary about a play within a movie. Oh, it's got like so many layers and levels. Oh, and Wes Anderson always does this crazy thing where he does model sets. Like if I don't know if you've ever seen Darjeeling Express, which he did. This has a lot of that kind of Darjeeling Express mojo. Oh, I love Darjeeling Express too. A lot of the Wes Anderson movies are about uh, being a father or missing your father. And I think this has a lot to do with that as well. Okay, I think that's a good pose right here, right? The other thing I always check for is to make sure that our figures are different sizes. I think because we have so little text right here, we could probably get away with making our figure a little bit bigger. And then just pushing it down here. I think that's good. Of course, we're going to erase all this right here. And let's just make sure that we're not repeating any sizes. All right, mid-size, a little bit further back. This is close in size. I have to go either bigger or smaller. I think I could go bigger with this one. Let's give that a shot. Let's go that big. I mean, it kind of puts us in the realm of like right over there, but I like this eye contact because what we're getting is what's called dynamic perspective. So dynamic perspective, I want to show you kind of interesting thing. No, not on this piece of paper. That's a special piece of paper. So we're used to the rule of thirds, right? This is how we compose things in comics, and you're trying to place stuff on these 4 points. You know, you might have a head here and a head here, and we have our characters, right? Dynamic perspective is different, and it comes from sort of classical art, and what it's based on is this diagonal. And the idea is we read left to right, right? So the closest things are on this side of the diagonal, and then we read that way. As we move to the right, the furthest things are back out there. And then we have these other points that are called, I forgot what they're called, supporting lines or something like that. And this diagonal is also a good way to compose. I'm not saying there's one true way to compose, but that's what I've got here. So if you think about it, I've got my there's my diagonal. There's my supporting lines, you know, the hands, etc. They're on the right spots. I'm going to take this back out. Choo, choo, choo. And then this one, he's more in the rule of thirds. If you were to divide this by 3, you notice I probably put him right up there. Although I probably could do this. Does this look really messy to you? You're like, what is he doing? All right, so if we were to imagine the third, and then word to the third, right about there. So you got to think, if we were to divide it by 3 and divide it by 3, this would be the point. So maybe I need to move his head up a little bit more. But I think that's a good spot right there. I think we need to find his other hand. He's doing like the Jerry Lewis, like he's loosening his collar. He's feeling nervous. Oh, shoot. And as I dripped over into this other panel, this is our soldier. And I think I made him too head heavy. His head's too big. So let's make his head a little bit smaller. Or a lot smaller. That's just enough. And really, we can move this figure around and he'll fit right inside. It's going to show, there's going to be something about the computer terminal that was used to launch the escape pod. And then we have this one. This is called a, I can't remember if this is big head or extremely big head. But of the 2 Wally Wood panels that are the best ones to use, the panels that always work I am a firm believer in the Wally Wood panels. All right. Yarrow, you treacherous fool. Guard, seize him. The original, I will tell you that the original script for this had her just immediately killing Yarrow, but I think we're going to keep him alive. Maybe imprisoned. Because the action is not really going to be with this group. The action's going to be with Illuminara and the planet. But that way we'll have something to focus in when we need to do a scene break and change the venue a little bit. We can go back to Yarrow by not killing him. Okay. So we're thinking about all that stuff. All right, let's try and draw this this guard here. He needs bigger eyes. And he has like this kind of diamond shape. And these mandibles. Yeah. Despite the fact that they're insectoid, he has only 2 arms, not 4. And then over here, we're going to do a standard... Well, people are going to hate that I said that. A standard comic book computer, 1960s computer equipment panel. That means it probably has some kind of checkerboard in it. If you looked at 1960s computers in comic books, there's always nobody knows what it does. Like they had these in Star Trek. Like there was always a computer, like Space Ghost. What does the checkerboard do? Nobody knows. Nobody knows. But it immediately evokes that era for me. So I'm definitely going to put one in. And there's going to be one on aboard the ship too. All right, that feels pretty good. I know we're at 22 minutes, but let's go ahead and so we can say that we got something done. Let's go ahead and draw some panels. Panel borders. That's how I usually start. Bit by bit, if you put in the effort to get started, you follow the roadmap, you can draw comic page after comic page. Nothing is stopping you. If you don't feel inspired, you can at least draw the comic, the borders, the panel borders. And to me, it's like role playing or play acting. You did it when you were a little kid. If you ever were a little kid and you had your action figures and you had the like the Fisher Price truck, and then you had Star Wars action figures and a G.I. Joe and the Planet of the Apes guys, they all kind of fit together on the same team, even though they weren't even the same scale or from the same world. But you could come up with a story. Little kids can come up with stories and they could go, okay, look at this. I got G.I. Joe and Cornelius from Planet of the Apes. They're on a rescue mission to rescue, Captain America, who's being held by these Jawas. Let's get him into the Tonka truck, and we're off on a mission. I don't know if little kids do that anymore, but that's what I did when I was a little kid. I guess they have the internet now. But comics is the whole point of that story. Comics is the same. Comics is the same. Don't stress too much. I know everyone wants to do important stories. And you can do important stories. This story, for example, is based on King Lear and Hamlet. And by King Lear, it's got the abdication of a throne and then a war for the throne and the warring sisters. That's all King Lear. And then Hamlet is the usurpation of the throne, right? If you're familiar with the source materials of the classics, you can create any story just by knowing what those stories symbolize, what they represent. I have my minor is in classics, which is a little bit like comparative mythology or something like that, but it includes. I was a linguist, so I had Latin, Hebrew, and ancient Greek in college, and then after college, I have Chinese and intermediate Chinese through Middlebury, and then I have oh shit, look at that, whoops. And then I'm picking up right now Espanol, and I'm really enjoying it. I want to go visit South America and Mexico. Um, I'm getting really interested in what's going on over there. The wonderful thing about learning languages is no matter who you are, you sort of like just by learning the language. Once you reach the point of fluency, um, and I would say I'm not really fluent in anything but English and Chinese. Like I'm 我会说中文, I can still speak Chinese. 我还会说中文. But I want to be fluent in Espanol at some point. My worry is that it's a little too fast for me. I've been watching movies and things in Spanish, and um, very cool. But I ain't there yet. It's going to take me a couple of years. But if there's one thing that I can do is dedicate years to learning something. I didn't start doing comics, for example, until 2019. And I dedicated myself to learning it. I think we're going to do like a big shadow right over his face in this scene. I may have to research the best way to do it. And then kind of do a rim light right around the edge here. And it'll be really dramatic looking. And then back here, of course, it'll be saturated black shadow. This is going to be a really good panel. If I can pull it off. I'm not sure my bugs match. His head's still too big. His head is like 3 times too big over here. Did he not shrink it? I thought I shrunk this. There we go. Maybe I shrunk it and it popped back up again. I think his chest is too big too. All right. Well, you know my motto. It's better to not knock yourself out if you don't feel like suffering. So let's take a look. I want to make sure these match. They kind of match. I think I want to make his antennas go back rather than forward. The ant soldiers are the same species as everybody. They're still Myrdramites. They're just a specialized biological variant. Most Myrdramites are born as either worker drones or soldiers. These are soldiers. And then a select few are born to be administrators, like a Yarrow, or damsels, like Illuminara or Ravos. Maybe there's something else. Maybe there's a thinker. You ever see Starship Troopers? They had the brain bug. I like the idea of a specialized biology for each one. All right. She's narrowed her eyes as she looks at him. Says, I did see her earlier. Maybe he says, maybe you should say, I may have seen her a bit earlier. I love a Euro. All right, wait. I did it wrong. This is the neck part. This is the other part of the yoke. And then it's got like, oh, I made it too big. We're right at 30 minutes. I'm rushing to beat the clock. There's no rule that says I can't go over 30 minutes. In fact, if you caught driving Saturday, I was at this um, page before this one. Oh, he's all distorted. For more than 2 hours straight. Here we go. We given him too long of a neck. All right. All is looking good. He's looking away. He's going to be sweating bullets here. He knows he's in trouble. All right. This arm has got to be corrected. Hey, shout out to Windblock. He just got back from Heroes Con. He posted some pictures of many comics that he saw there, but also pictures of him with the cartoonist kayfabe guys and just meeting some of the great comic people that were out there. I'm very jealous. There's definitely a desire for me to go. I want to go. I want to be doing stuff like that too at some point. Eventually, right? One day. All right. Oh, and he's got these wrist guard things. The wrist guards have the same sun motif. All right. Everything's looking good. I could probably clean this up a little bit more, do a little bit more drawings, and get it underway. But please like, follow, and subscribe. There will be more comics every day. I will continue inking on this. We're going to get this thing done and happening. And Princess of Apshai is going to be really good, I think. It's already pretty good right now. I feel like this is already a good story. Talk to you later.